Welcome, Lumineers and fans of the happiest card game on Earth. My name's John T. You've just been putting the inkwell alongside all of the Amethyst cards from Ursula's Return. That's right, we're going through every single card across 6 videos, ready for the LGS release of the game on Friday. I'm very excited. I hope you're very excited. Let's dive in. So Amethyst starts off at number 35 with a 3-costed inkable 3/4 with 1 lore, Antonio Madrigal, Animal Export Storyborn Expert, we're not exporting him. Storyborn Ally Madrigal, uncommon card with art by Ellie Horry. Very adorable art there, also showing Pico, I think his name is, who features in a card later on as well. And this is a relatively boring vanilla. The only real thing of note here is the Madrigal keyword, but otherwise there's not really much here. Moving on, a 5-costed inkable 4/4 with 2 lore, Belle, Accomplished Mystic, Floodborn Hero, Princess Sorcerer with Shift 3 and Enhanced Healing. When you play this character, move up to 3 damage counters from chosen character to chosen opposing character. Super rare here with art by Malia Ewart. This is a card that we got to reveal on This Week in Ink a few weeks ago. We were very happy to do so. It's a beautiful card. I mean, real incredible art here. I was kind of thinking this might have been a shoe-in for a Enchanted. Maybe it'll turn up at a later set championship, who knows. But yeah, real beautiful stuff here, and honestly a pretty solid card as well. I don't think there's really anything you want to shift this onto at the moment. There is a Belle we'll take a look at in a moment, but I think you're probably quite happy putting this down on 5. In fact, you're probably happy putting this down on 6 after a Maui, I think is probably the play here. If you play a Maui down, it takes something out. If they don't return the favour and then go Maui, go into Maui very often is a 2-for-1. You're then going to be able to drop Belle down, heal up that Maui and get another hit, and also in healing Maui, move damage over somewhere else. This is pretty good. It's a 4 on the strength, so it gets rid of the Medusa problem that we're seeing a lot in the meta, I think. I think this is quite playable, to be honest with you. We'll probably, I hope at least, we'll see some play in Ruby Amethyst, maybe Amethyst Steel, and there also could be a new sort of Amethyst Emerald deck that maybe uses the beast that readies when stuff is damaged. Could well be a thing here as well. It's a little bit more combo-y, but just in the regular sort of meta decks that we're seeing at the moment, I do think Belle might find a slot in them. We also have a 3-costed inkable Belle. I hate the fact that this is the best picture I can find of this. I think there might be a slightly clearer version of it somewhere, but if you get a card reveal, please show the card off nicely and don't just point your phone camera at your screen. I think it's a 3/3 with 1 lore, and I think it moves 1 damage when it's played. I'm sorry, I can't show you a better version of this. Next up, a 5-costed uninkable 4/5 for 1 lore, Bruno Madrigal, Out of the Shadows, Storyborn Ally Madrigal. It was your vision. When you play this character, chosen character gains. When this character is banished in a challenge, you may return this card to your hand. This turn, rare card with art by Aubrey Archer. Kind of like this. The 5 on inkable is the only thing that's really affecting this. I'd prefer it to be actually lower statted and a little cheaper, so you could follow a fox. Would be really nice with this, I think, if you could play a fox and it survives, much like how we just spoke about with the Maui and the Belle. Having this down next turn and swinging it in again and having it bounce back to your hand, I actually quite like that, to be honest with you. Again, it's a Madrigal. It goes in the Madrigal decks. I don't want to know what the Madrigal deck looks like, honestly. I have to put all these together and shuffle them up and try it. It seems to be, for the most part, even though it is a typal synergy, even though that classification does matter for Mirabelle and for the grandma, I forget her name now. For the most part, the Madrigals are all kind of doing their own thing, so it might not really work as a deck, but it is still worth noting that classification there. But otherwise, nice ability, could be fun in an Amethyst deck. The uninkability is going to be the thing that stops this seeing much play, I think. Another Bruno, again, I kind of like this one, a 4-costed inkable 3/3 with 1 lore, Bruno Madrigal, Undetected Uncle, Storyborn Ally Madrigal with Evasive. And you just have to see it. You can exert the card to name a card, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's the named card, you can put it in your hand and gain 3 lore. Otherwise, you can just put it on the top of your deck. I think this goes along with the Grandma, who goes to find a Madrigal and puts it on top of your deck. Seems pretty solid. I also think this could be a slight theme loss in a Broom deck. You only have to name the first line of the name. You only have to say Magic Broom. You don't have to say the subclassification, the subtitle of it. So, chances are outside of Yensid and a couple of Mickeys, and obviously other copies of Bruno, you may well hit a Broom. It's going into your hand, it's card draw, and 3 lore. Pretty solid. Don't mind this one at all. The 3/3 stat line isn't fantastic, but it is going to probably get a turn or 2 out of it before you see this get removed with something like a Medusa. So yeah, don't mind this one. Think it could see some play in a few fringe decks. I don't think this goes into anything we're currently playing. I don't think it's worth playing this and just hoping you hit a Fox or a Maui or something, or something in steel. I think this is a bit of a build around card, or at least goes into a sort of closer thematic deck. But yeah, could see playing either of those, I think. 4-costed Inkable 2/5 for 1 lore, Camilo Madrigal, Prankster, Storyborn Ally Madrigal with many forms. At the start of your turn, you may choose one. This character gets +1 this turn, or this character, one lore that is, excuse me, or this character gains Challenger 2 this turn. Uncommon card with art by Emily Abadira. Very thematic card, this one. He is a shapeshifter. You can see in the art there that he's looking to shift into the form of one of his sisters and Bruno as well, perhaps. Really beautiful art. I mean, all the Madrigals look great in this game, to be honest with you. The art is fantastic on all of them. As far as the playability of this card, I mean, this could just be Challenger 2 with 2 lore. It makes no difference. If you're questing with this character for 2 lore, the fact that he's Challenger doesn't matter. If you're challenging with this character with Challenger 2, it doesn't matter how much lore he has. So it's a thematic win that you get to choose. I mean, it is technically a downside because you're choosing at the start of your turn, so you're choosing before you've drawn a card, before you see any other information from the game through continued card draw. So it's technically a bit of a downside, but it's a flavor win. But that's about it, really. Otherwise, this is, it's an acceptable body, but probably won't really see much play outside of Madrigals. 4-costed Inkable 3/3 for 2 lore, Dolores Madrigal, easy listener. When you play this character, if an opponent has an exerted character in play, you may draw a card. Storyborn Ally Madrigal with art by Otto Paredes. Yeah, I think this is very playable. I would draft the heck out of this. I think it's going to be great in draft. Cards that replace themselves in draft are very good. The caveat of this one, having something exerted on your opponent's board, happens a lot more in a limited environment than it does in constructed. One of the only real ways to deal with board presence in limited is through challenging, so there's going to be a lot of stuff turned sideways, and afterwards this is a perfectly acceptable body. A 3/3 for 2 lore in limited is pretty good. Yeah, I think this is a bit of a limited bomb. Whether or not it sees playing constructed outside of Madrigals, I just don't know. I think you're probably still just putting a rabbit down instead of this, a Merlin rabbit, but maybe this, it's a slightly better body than rabbit. It's a 3/3 over a 2/3, and it's got 2 lore over 1 lore. Depends how much challenging matters really ends up being a focus in the meta as to whether or not this sees play. It could edge out something like Rabbit, but honestly, I feel like the consistency of the Rabbit definitely drawing you one no matter what is probably what continues to see play. Next up, a 3-costed Uninkable 1/4 with 1 lore, Elsa Stormchaser, Storyborn Hero Queen Sorcerer. With Tempest, you can exert this card. Chosen character gains Challenger 2 and Rush this turn. This is a rare card with art by Miriam Marino. Don't mind this, honestly. I think this is a pretty good ability. The body is interested, doesn't really need more than the 1, I suppose. The 4 keeps it around for a little while. And giving something Challenger 2 and Rush is kind of nice. You can basically have this on 3. On turn 4, you can throw down a rabbit, instantly make it a 4/3 with Rush that draws you 2 cards, most likely, if it's going in and getting rid of something. It's not a bad line, that, to be honest with you. The only reason I don't think this will see too much play is it's the Fox slot, and the Fox is just broken. So this may well edge it into something. It may well go into Amethyst Steel a little better than Amethyst Ruby, perhaps. Giving a nice steel thing Rush could be pretty good. It's a little telegraphed. It needs to kind of be removed, but honestly, if you're playing this on 3 on your opponent's turn 3, there's not that many things they can use to get rid of this until it exerts, at least. Yeah, I kind of like this one, and maybe I like it a bit more than I should because I'm maybe looking for other options to Fox. I'm kind of getting a bit bored of the MIM package, perhaps, or the prevalence of it, at least. Maybe, I don't know. I like this card. I'm not sure if it'll see any play. Next up, another 3-costed uninkable, 4/2 with 1 lore, Flotsam, Ursula's Baby, Dreamborn ally with Quick Escape. When this character is banished in a challenge, you can return it to your hand. And Ominous Pair, as with all of the Flotsam Jetsams, it gives the other name the same ability. So here, Jetsams gain, when this character is banished in challenge, return this card to your hand. Uncommon card with art by Brian Kissinger. Awesome art from Brian here, love it. The other one looks fantastic in a moment. We'll take a look at that in a second. There is another card in between them, though. Flotsam and Jetsams are always worth noting. Eventually there will be a deck that runs all of these, and it's the the sum of its greater than the sum of its parts. Right now, looking at this as an individual card, it probably does see some limited play. It's 4/2 that bounces back to your hand is about as best as removal as you can hope for in this set. Whether or not you'll see both of them on the board is pretty slim. Again, worth noting for Flotsam and Jetsam decks, but otherwise nothing really to write home about. The next one is the one that sits in between them, a 6-costed inkable 5/5 Flotsam and Jetsam, Entangling Eels, Floodborn ally. Shift, discard 2 cards, 2 lore, and this character counts as being named both Flotsam and Jetsam. This is an uncommon card, again with art by Brian Kissinger. He smashes the Flotsam and Jetsams out. I don't think this is fantastic, honestly. I suppose there is a Voltron deck happening here. Voltron, for those of you who don't know, is a term in Magic where one card gets a lot of buffs to it and is used to close out the game. So in Magic, usually it's making one card so big that it takes all the life away from your opponents in one go, and then also makes it incredibly evasive. It means it has menace, which means it needs to be blocked at least by 2 things, or it has flying, which means it can't be blocked by non-flyers. All of these kind of things, just to put all of your resources into one card and swing out for the win. So this could happen here. Flotsam and Jetsam classes as both Flotsam and Jetsam, and therefore if you've got a board state with all of them on and then you shift this down, you've probably got a 8/5 evasive ward that comes back to your hand when it's killed, blah blah blah, all the different things. Very difficult to pull all of this off. But it is still a nice card. It is still a nice looking card. It is worth noting that the ability there, this character counts as being named both Flotsam and Jetsam. You'll see that is in italics and in brackets, which means it's reminder text. It's not rules text. So whilst there is a rule in place here, it doesn't require the card to be any certain which way around for the rule to apply, as opposed to the difference between cards being on the board and being in your hand or the discard or wherever else. This is reminder text, which means no matter where this card is, it is both a Flotsam and a Jetsam. The only thing that really matters for at the moment, I think, is some of the stuff we're seeing in this set where you name the top card and look at it. Here, for instance, if you did have Bruno and you named Flotsam and you turned this card over, you would be drawing it, you would be gaining 3 lore, because this card, no matter where it is in the game, is considered as both a Flotsam and a Jetsam. So worth noting there, it isn't only on the board that it's Flotsam and Jetsam, it's anywhere. Next up, a 5-costed inkable 3/4 with 1 lore, Isabel Madrigal Golden Child, Storyborn ally Madrigal with evasive, and ladies first during your turn. If no other character has quested this turn, this character gains 3 lore, and leave it to me. Whenever this character quests, your other characters can't quest for the rest of this turn. This is a rare card with art by Otto Paredes. Great art. Cool card, fun card, a bit of a build around, I think. A lot of people are saying this goes into an aggro deck. I don't think it does, honestly, because if you're playing in this in an aggro deck, you're probably generating the same amount of lore you had anyway. You're just not turning everything sideways. I guess it kind of gives you a turn off of turning everything sideways, and instead you're just getting the lore with this and then having it killed. I think where this actually fits more likely is the lore generation in a control deck. One of the things that Ruby Amethyst suffers from, if you can even say it suffers from anything, is that all of its bodies don't really have much lore. You have Goat bouncing around to generate lore. But outside of that, most of your mid to late game, foxes, rabbits, crabs, they all are 1 questers. Maui is a 0 quester. I mean, obviously Medusa, I think, is 2. There's a few other things that quest for 2, but for the most part, lore generation isn't something it does particularly well. It's just sort of winning the game through entropy and running down the opponents until it can comfortably quest out with these 1, 2, and 3 lore, one drop, 1 lore characters. Here, you're basically putting the gas on in the mid game with this card. This comes down on 5. It's going to be difficult to kill with the evasive there, and most likely will get 4 lore. The 3 strength is, again, it's the killer. It's the Medusa problem. It's going to be difficult to keep this one around against Ruby. Otherwise, actually, this is pretty cool. I think it goes down alongside foxes and goats and crabs that can clear up the board while this relatively comfortably quests for 4. Here's the other half of the package of Flotsam and Jetsam in Amethyst. A 3-costed inkable 2/4 with 1 lore. Jetsam Ursula's Baby, Dreamborn ally with Challenger 2, and Flotsam's Gain Challenger 2, common 1, again with art by Brian Kessinger. Probably will see play in limited, actually, this one. It's a 4/4, it's going to be good for removing stuff, it's going to be good for clearing up the board. These two go quite nicely together, the Flotsam and Jetsam from this set, honestly. A Challenger, 4/4 that comes back to your hand if they're both out. I kind of dig that, to be honest with you. But overall, I still don't think we're there yet with Flotsam and Jetsams. I feel like you need to get to the point where there's like 25 of them to choose from for you to build a good deck, I think, and we're not even close. 4-costed, uninkable 4/3 with 1 lore. Louisa Madrigal, magically strong 1, Storyborn ally Madrigal with Rush, common card with art by Juan Diego Leon. Probably doesn't see play. Probably just play Fox. A 1-costed inkable 1/2 with 1 lore, Magic Broom, a Luminary Keeper, Dreamborn Broom. Nice and tidy. Whenever you play another character, you may banish this character to draw a card. This is great. We needed a 1-drop broom since the very first cards of this set were revealed. The Yensid comes down on 2 and requires you to have a broom out for you to replace it with a card in your hand. We'll look at him in a moment. This is the line here. You're going to be playing a broom deck. You're going to be mulliganing hard for this 1-drop and for Yensid. You can then choose to quest with this, play the Yensid, draw the card, banish this, draw a second card, or you can leave this out and on turn 3 be able to play a 3-drop broom, and then Yensid's online for questing for more, I think. So I'm talking more about Yensid than this one. I mean, this honestly could be vanilla, and I still think it would see play in a broom deck. Outside of that, you might play this over Churnabox Followers that has a similar kind of ability. I like the fact that this can stick around and doesn't have to die after it's quested. Just anything that gives you options, I like, but doing a very similar job to Churnabox Followers, and that's arguably one of the weakest parts in the Emerald Amethyst deck that it's seen played in, so this probably doesn't replace it. I think there's other 1-drops that we've seen in this set that are much more playable, especially the Pegasus 1-drop, so I still dig this for brooms, but outside of brooms, it's probably not really seeing any play. Another one, 3-costed inkable 2/4 for 1 lore, Magic Broom, I don't know what the subtitle is there, sorry, No, don't know what that French is. Dreamborn Broom, common card with art by Rudy Hill. Just a vanilla, just there to flesh out brooms right now. Probably sees playing brooms, but it's going to be the first one to be replaced if we start getting other ones with abilities. 2/4 stat line isn't very impressive, really, for a 3-drop. It is what it is. It's broom filler. Another one that should be a broom, 2-costed inkable 2/2 for 2 lore, Magical Maid, Feather Duster, Storyborn ally. Seen this stat line quite a lot. It's a pretty healthy stat line. It probably will see some draft or limited play. The only thing I really think is worth note here is Magical Maid, as far as I can tell, is like the 5th official name that this character has now had. In the original movie, she's just listed as Feather Duster. She has then been called Fifi, Plumette, Maria was one, maybe, I don't know. She's just had, every time they've made this movie or a film or a musical or whatever, for some reason they renamed this character, and Magical Maid, as far as I can tell, is a new one, and is like the 5th one. Here's one I didn't have on my bingo card, a 3-costed inkable 0/3 for 1 lore, Marshmallow, Terrifying Snowman, Storyborn ally with the ability Behemoth. This character gets +1 strength for each card in your hand. Uncommon card with art by Simone Bienvenido. This is like the smaller version of the Jafar we saw, the Cave of Wonders Jafar we saw in set 1. Hasn't really seen much play. Problem with stuff that makes huge strength is that strength doesn't really help you get to your win con. There's very little difference between a character having 6 strength and 87 strength, so yeah, I don't think this is particularly impressive. maybe it's filler in like a Jafar deck with a whole new world rocking out or something, but otherwise, no, I don't think this really sees any play. 4-costed Inkable 3/4 with 2 lore, Mrs. Potts Enchanted Teapot, Storyborn Ally. It'll turn out alright, excuse me. When you play this character, if you have a character named Lumiere or Cogsworth in play, you may draw a card. Veronica Del Lorenzo and Livio Cacciatore have done joint art here on this rare card. I don't really rate stuff that names other characters. You rarely see any sort of competitive play. There's maybe an interesting line here with the Cogsworth. The Lumiere's unfortunately been a little bit disappointing. Although the one Lumiere in this set may see some play just because it's going to help get characters past the Medusa issue. And here's another one, a 3/4. You know, that 3. I know it's crazy, but you know, Medusa is a meta-defining card. We've talked about it a lot. You know, if had that Lumiere out and this out, gets past the problem, maybe. But again, you know, 4-cost drawing a card. Are we still just playing Rabbit? I'm not sure. 5-costed Uninkable 1/5 with 1 lore, Pepper Madrigal, Weathermaker, Storyborn Ally Madrigal, and it looks like rain. When you play this character, you may exert chosen opposing character. That character can't ready at the start of their next turn unless they're at a location. This is a rare card with art by Samantha Erdini. The only thing really letting this down for me is that cost. I actually think this is pretty good. I really love exerting stuff, especially stuff that doesn't ready. Unless they're at a location, can honestly 95% of the time be ignored right now. It just, you know, like any locations that do see play, they're rarely getting 1 or 2 things onto them. There's probably always going to be something to hit with this. But just the stat wise and the cost, I'm not sure it's going to see much play. It's a shame because it's a good ability, just not on the most amazing body. Next up, a 3-costed Uninkable 2/3 for 1 lore, Peter Pan Shadow Finder, Storyborn Hero with Rush and Evasive, and Fly, of course, your other characters with Evasive Green Rush. This is a super rare card with art by Emily Abidera. So opposite of the Shadow from last set, I think the Shadow is a 4-costed Uninkable, same stat line, but has the last ability there, Rush gains Evasive as opposed to Evasive gains Rush. I think that one is slightly better. I would rather have my native Rush characters gain Evasive as opposed to my native Evasive characters gain Rush. Obviously they pair nicely together, but I still don't really think they're going to see much play, unfortunately. Thematic win though, love cards that do this and reference other cards, especially across different sets. I think it's really good fun to see them revealed and maybe play around with in a more casual setting. But again, we very often with these videos look at this sort of stuff from a competitive mindset, and I don't really think this cuts it, unfortunately. Here's Pico that we mentioned before, a 2-costed Inkable 3/2 with 1 lore, Pico Helpful Toucan, Storyborn Ally, common card with art by Haji Jews. Yeah, just a common stat line here. Could have been a Madrigal, I guess. I don't know. Not much to say about this. It's a vanilla. 6-costed Inkable 4/7 with 1 lore, TikTok Ever Present Pursuer, Storyborn Ally Evasive, common card with art by Kenneth Anderson. Could be a bit of a limited bomb, this one, really. It's going to be a good top end for decks. If this had 2 lore, it could see constructed play, honestly. It's a great stat line. Evasive with 4 strength is great because and 7 on the butt. You know, there's not much that kills this, honestly. If it quested for 2 lore, I could genuinely see this finding some play in some Amethyst decks. That difference, unfortunately, means it probably isn't quite powerful enough to see land. But I do think this is going to be pretty good in limited. Next up, 2-costed Inkable 1/3 with 1 lore, Ursula Mad Sea Witch, Dreamborn Villain Sorcerer, Challenger 2, uncommon card, with Adam Ford. Art here, the first mention I think of the Hexwell Crown, which is obviously a Lorcana original item that seems to be prevalent at the end of the story here. Whether or not it carries through into future sets, I'm not sure yet. Looks like there are gems there. Maybe they're all going to sort of fill up with the color ink, and we've got like an Infinity Gauntlet type thing going on narratively. That would be pretty cool. One thing I really dig about this set, we'll see a few of them here, is some of these cards really starting to lean into the original narrative now. Now, lore isn't something I'm super up on in card games. For the most part, I do ignore it. Any sort of videos, blog posts that come out. I do read them. I will take it all in, and anything on cards like this that sort of lean into stuff, I do enjoy it. I'm not really one to sort of try and parse it much outside of that. But I do think it's good fun, and I do think this is a great way of doing it. This is just Ursula, and she's looking cool. And if you don't care about the narrative of Lorcana, it's just Ursula looking cool. But if you want to, there's quite a few things you can pull from this. And, the fact that you're seeing 2 Ursulas here on a card, we're going to see that even more prominently in a moment, is kind of interesting and kind of cool, I think. Next up, then, the poster child of the set, I think, the 7-costed Inkable 4/7 with 3 lore: Ursula, Sea Witch Queen, Floodborn Villain Queen, Sorcerer. Shift 5. Now I am the ruler. Whenever this character quests, you can exert chosen character, and you'll listen to me. Other characters can't exert to sing songs. Art by a Lady Shadowrin. Beautiful. Love it to bits. Love the art. Love the abilities. Love the stat line. Love the possibilities. I played Emerald Amethyst all the way through set 3, and I don't see myself slowing down in set 4, and I think this is most definitely at least a 2 of in that deck, maybe more. We do have to bear in mind that the other characters aren't opposing characters, does include your own ones, but honestly, the Ursulas you're playing in the deck, the 2-cost Ursula, and to an extent the 3-cost Ursula, once they've done their thing, if they stick around, they start to lose a lot of their value. If I can then throw this beautiful lady on top of them and start closing out the game with a pretty decent quester, I dig it. I think it's a great late game play for the Emerald Amethyst deck. And hopefully get my hand on some of these and want to test it. I feel like this is a really good, solid legendary. I can't think of the others, like all of the others off the top of my head, but I think this might be the best legendary in the set. Oh, this one's pretty cool as well, but it only goes in one very specific deck. It's a 2-costed Inkable 1/3 with 1 lore. Yensid, that's Disney backwards. Powerful sorcerer. Storyborn hero, a sorcerer with timely invention. When you play this character, if you have a character named Magic Broom out, you can draw a card, and Arcane Study. While you have 2 or more brooms out, this character gets +2 lore. Matthew Robert Davis art here on this legendary. Beautiful card. It has a great looking enchanted with it as well, and yeah, I think you mulligan hard for this in your broom deck. Turn 1 broom, turn 2 Yensid, turn 3 broom, quest for 3. It probably dies, but it's pretty good. Bodyguard broom would be nice. Oh, a 3-drop bodyguard broom would be insane. If we ever see it, this gets even better. I like this. It's a build around. It only goes in brooms, obviously, but in brooms, I think it's really pretty good. And I think that's kind of what they always wanted legendaries to be in this game. These sort of build-around cards that have flashy abilities, but not necessarily the most sort of necessary for every deck. I feel like they miss sometimes. I think a lot of the very playable legendaries are just good because they're just good. Think of things like Tragic Beast kind of just goes in steel decks. Ursula from set 3, the singer, just goes in emerald decks, really. She's not really a build-around. In honest with you, that Ursula that sings and then replays the song, I play 2 songs in that deck. So she's not a build-around. She's just very good value on curve. This is a 100% build-around legendary, and I'm kind of into it, to be honest. Next up, a 2-costed Inkable action song. Poor Unfortunate Souls. Return chosen character item or location with cost 2 or less to their player's hand. Common card with art by Danny Minogue. Minone, excuse me. Sorry. Sorry, Danny. Denny Minone. Oh my god. This is great. I love the art on this one. Look at all the items flying out there that we see on other cards. And I kind of dig this, really. I mean, Befuddle is a 1-drop that does this for characters or items. So this is adding in locations, but more importantly, I think, is adding in singability. I don't know if this necessarily slots into decks that are currently playing Amethyst, just because there's a lot of other stuff. You're not playing this until turn 3, unless you're in some sort of weird Amber Amethyst song deck. Cinderella can sing this on 2. I mean, that's not terrible, I guess, but she can sing all the steel removal on 2 as well and do the same thing and actually make it even better. It gets rid of it completely, not back to the hand. So most chances are this is doing it on 3. I guess against an aggro deck, if you're in Amethyst Emerald, you can sing this with your 2-drop and then also play a kit and bounce 2 things back. I don't hate that as far as tempo goes. I don't know. It could see a bit of play, this one. but it also could not. I'm struggling to judge this one. I think I think it might be a little bit slept on, but maybe I'm just overvaluing it. A 10 cost uninkable action song. Second star to the right. Sing together 10. Chosen player draws 5 cards. Rare card with art by Natalie Trivoska. As I said in the last one, there's one of these in each colour. I don't rate them that highly, to be honest with you. Sing together. Having 10 inks worth of stuff on the board and turning it all sideways to refill your hand. I think if you're really that desperate for a nice full hand late in the game, you're just going to be Whole New Worlding anyway. I guess there's something to be said about playing this in the Jafar deck with alongside Whole New World as another secondary win con, but I don't know. 10 uninkable, this is going to sit dead in your hand a lot of the time. 1 costed inkable action, swing into action. A chosen character gains rush this turn. Common card with art by Vuta Brunel. Sure, it's inkable. If they said draw a card on it, I think you would see play. Otherwise, I don't know. Are you wanting to give stuff rush that doesn't have rush? I don't think you are, especially in Amethyst. Maybe you might want to rush a goat every now and again. Otherwise, it's not worth the slot in the deck, I don't think. 3 costed uninkable action, Ursula's Plan. Each opponent chooses and exerts one of their characters. These characters can't ready at the start of their next turn. Uncommon card with art by Erivelli. Again, here's one of those pieces of art that I was telling you about. This very narrative heavy with both the crown and the trident together. We would be unstoppable. Yeah, and there it is. There's the crown and the trident. The crown is actually coloured in. The gems are coloured in there, I think. I don't think we've seen that before, but here you can clearly see that it's the different Ursulas. It's the Deceiver of All and the Sea Witch Ursula, and then they turn on each other in the story. Oh, it's cool. I love it. As far as the card goes, I don't think this is very good. 3 uninkable, and the opponent gets to pick something to exert. Yeah, maybe late game, and they've only got 1 thing out. No, never mind. 2 costed inkable item, Mystical Rose. Dispel the entanglement. Banish this item. Chosen character named Beast gets +2 lore. If you have if you have a character named Belle in play, move some damage around. Rare card with art by Olivier Desiree. This goes in an Amethyst Emerald Beauty and the Beast deck that revolves around Beast Relentless, and that's probably it. If this pops off with Beast Relentless, kind of insane, honestly. Yeah, kind of insane in that deck, but getting Relentless online is already tricky. There was the Emerald Steel deck that had an almost infinite combo using the Bayou and the Sheriff and that beast, but that never really saw happening. This one might be a little bit easier to get online, and it's looking for stuff that's already going to be in that deck anyway. You can put this down and it's there ready for you. There isn't that much item removal still now being played, but otherwise, anything that names the characters, like I say, it's very much a build around. Another version of the Rose here, the Rose Lantern, a 2-costed inkable item with Mystical Petals. Exert and pay 2 to move 1 damage counter from chosen character to chosen opposing character. Common card with art by Gabriella Angelo. Beautiful art. Very weak card. Won't see any sort of play. 2-costed inkable item, Triton's Trident. Symbol of power. Banish this item. Chosen character gets +1 strength for each card in your hand. Uncommon card with art by Matt Chapman. Possibly the biggest letdown of the set, honestly. We really expected Triton's Trident, that has been mentioned since day 1 in the narrative of the game, to be really something quite juicy and quite special. This isn't it. I just don't think this sees any play at all. And then the first of 2 locations for Amethyst, a 1-costed inkable location, Casa Madrigal Casita, 1 on the move cost and 6 on the willpower. Our home at the start of your turn. If you have a character here, gain a lore with common rarity with art by Rachel Elise. There are already common locations in the game that generate 1 lore without any sort of caveat. They only have 4 on their willpower, but it's still going to be turn 3 most likely before they can get rid of it. If they throw everything into it before then, they've not quested for any lore themselves, so that's fine. This is coming down on 1. On turn 2, you can play a 1-drop and move to it. On turn 3, it will start gaining you a lore. So on turn 3, you've gained a lore. If you're playing one of the ones that just gain you a lore on turn 1, like Neverlands, the Mermaid Lagoon, you'll have gained 3 lore at that point. No, sorry, 2 lore at that point, so double the lore. both of which are relatively negligible, I think, and because of that, I don't think this sees play. It's a shame this one, it's a little bit weak. I hope we see other versions of the same locations in the future, because I think Casa Madrigal could be a very, very fun and interesting build-around card. This isn't it. And then the other one, a 3-costed uninkable location, Ursula's Lair, Eye of the Storm. This is a 2-move class 6, willpower 1, passive 4, and slippery holes. Whenever a character is banished in a challenge whilst here, you may return them to your hand and seat of power. Characters named Ursula get +1 lore while here. If this was uninkable, if this was inkable, or if it had a 1 move cost, I actually think this would see play. Both of those two things just hold it back a little bit too much. There is something to be said about the problem I said with the Emerald Ursulas before, is once they've done their job, once the 2-drop Ursula has got a card out of the opponent's hand, once the 3-drop Ursula has sang a song twice, or sang it once and played it once, if we're going to be pedants, they're usually done. And if they can stick around, you get here some more lore out of them. Don't mind it, but unfortunately paying 2 to move them to it, or having an uninkable card set in your hand when you don't need it, are enough to hold this one back, I think. A few interesting things in Amethyst here, really. I think the problem with Amethyst moving further into the game is, at the moment, the set 2 Amethyst, the Mim and Merlin package, was just so overpowered that everything else is being compared to it, and everything else is just unfortunately coming up a little bit short. We're going to have to see something really spicy from Amethyst as we move forward, but still a lot of good stuff here that I'm very interested in trying out. I think Madrigal's is going to be a fun casual deck, and I love those legendaries. Can't wait for Brooms, and can't wait for that big juicy Ursula. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give us a like, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more of these. Until the next one, be good.